to our podcast, Keeping It Real.
If you buy a home even 10 years later than you planned, you could lose $300,000 or more in wealth just from the delay alone. Not from anything you did wrong, just from the delay.
And this is the part nobody teaches us. Like, did anyone in school explain debt to income ratios to you? Like, anyone?
Not once.
The median retirement savings, guys, for our generation is $40,000. Phil, $40,000. We're looking at $80,000 a year in projected retirement expenses, and people have only $40,000 saved. We were told, get a good job, buy a house, pay it off. That was the plan. Nobody said, and by the way, your pension is disappearing and you're going to need to fund your own retirement, and you'll have about 15 years to do it. A pre-assessment is someone telling you what needs to change and in what order to get you to a yes. That conversation changes everything. Hey everyone, welcome back to Keeping It Real. I'm Irene, and as always, I've got my guy Phil with me. I feel like today's topic is one that we both just needed to have out loud. Like, we needed to say the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, we really did, because I've had this conversation so many times with clients and my kids' friends and my own family, and I keep hearing the same thing. The bank said no, or the bank said I need to save more, and then nothing. No roadmap, no next steps, just a no.
Yeah, really, a closed door with no directions to the next door. And that's exactly what we're talking about today. We're talking about how to get set up strategically, intentionally, to own your own home one day. Whether you're 24 and just starting out, or you're 44 and you're still renting and wondering if it's even possible anymore. This episode is for you.
And here's the thing that really got me fired up about this topic. It's not just a young person's problem, right? We talked a lot about Gen X on this show. And let's be real, a lot of us are sitting on significant mortgage debt with retirement coming up fast. So we've got something to say to both sides of this conversation today.
We do. And it starts with the question I want you to sit with. When was the last time your bank actually helped you build a plan? Not just approved or denied you, but actually sat down with you and said, here's exactly what needs to happen for you to get to a yes.
That's the conversation we're having today. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let me paint you a picture. There are people watching this right now, maybe your kids, maybe your nieces or nephews, maybe yourself, who want to own a home more than almost anything. And the research actually shows that 54% of millennials and over 40% of Gen Z feel pressure to own property. That's not just a want, that's a deep, real desire.
And yet the gap keeps widening. In Canada, millennials are owning homes at a lower rate than Gen X and baby boomers were at the same age. And here's the number that got me. If you buy a home even 10 years later than you planned, you could lose $300,000 or more in wealth just from the delay alone. Not from anything you did wrong, just from the delay.
Yeah, because home ownership has always been a forced savings plan, right? Every mortgage payment you make is building equity. You're not just paying for a roof over your head, you're paying yourself. And when you're renting, that's money that builds someone else's equity, not yours. And I want to be clear, I'm not shaming anyone who rents. Life is complex. Sometimes renting is exactly the right choice, but I want people to at least be making a conscious, strategic choice, not just a default one.
Exactly. And here's why it feels so impossible for some people right now. They're carrying more debt than any generation before them. Student loan, car payments, credit cards, and cost of living, that just keeps going up. 76% of people in 2026 carry some form of debt, and 81% of those people say the debts has made them delay a major milestone, including buying a home.
So really, it's not laziness. It's not a lack of ambition. It's a structural squeeze. And the question is, how do you work within that squeeze strategically to get to the other side? And that's what Phil and I are going to break down.
Okay, so here's where I want to get really practical, because part of the problem is that people go into a bank, they hear the word denied, and they leave with no idea what actually needs to change. So let me tell you exactly what a lender is looking at when you walk through that door.
Yeah, really. And this is the part nobody teaches us. Like, did anyone in school explain debt to income ratios to you? Like, anyone?
Not once. Let's fix that right now. When you apply for a mortgage, lenders look at 5 main things. Number 1, your credit score. For most conventional loans, you want to be at 620 or higher. If you're at 580, you may qualify for FHA or government-backed loan, but you'll pay for it. The higher your score, the better your rate. And your rate matters enormously over the life of 25 or 30-year mortgage.
Yeah, I want to jump in here because people don't always know your credit score isn't just about whether you've missed payments. Okay. It's about how much of your available credit you're using. If you have a credit card with a $5,000 limit and you're regularly at 4,800, that's actually hurting you, even if you're paying it off every month. So keep your utilization under 30% of your limit and you'll see your score move.
That's a great point. Okay, number two, your debt to income ratio. This might actually be the most important number of all. Lenders take the total monthly debt payments, your car, your student loan, your credit cards, everything, and divide that by your gross monthly income. If that number is over 43%, most lenders are going to have a problem. The lower that number, the more room you have for a mortgage payment.
Yeah. And here's what I love about this number. It gives people something to actually work toward. It's not just save more money, which feels really vague and overwhelming. It's what's your debt to income ratio today and what does it need to be? That's a very specific target. That's really a plan.
Exactly. And the third one, your down payment. The bigger, the better. Obviously, in Canada, the minimum is 5% for homes under 500,000. But if you can get up to 20%, you eliminate the cost of mortgage default insurance, which can add tens of thousands of dollars to your total cost. Number four, your payment history. Lenders pull your full credit report, not just your score. They want to see consistency. One missed payment isn't a deal breaker, but a pattern of late payments is a serious red flag.
And what's number five?
Okay, employment stability. They want to see that you've been working consistently, ideally in the same field or with the same employer for at least 2 years. If you're self-employed, that's a whole other conversation, but it is doable. You'll just need 2 years of tax returns showing your income.
Yes. So when people say the bank just tells you yes or no, this is what they're not telling you. These are the 5 dials. And if you get a no, one or more of these dials is off. And every single one of them is fixable. Maybe not today, but in 12 months, 24 months, absolutely fixable. Okay. So quick pause right here. If you're getting value from this conversation, would you do us a favor? Hit that subscribe button. We put on new episodes every week, real conversations about money, retirement, home ownership, and everything in between that your bank and your HR department never seems to cover. It costs you nothing and it might just change everything. Phil, say hi.
Hi, I'm Phil. Subscribe, you won't regret it.
Okay, so knowing what lenders look for is step one, but knowing and doing are 2 different things. So I want to talk about a real, actual strategic plan, what that looks like, because most people don't need a miracle. They need a 12 to 24 month plan that they actually follow.
And it starts with honesty, which is harder than it sounds. You have to actually sit down and look at what you owe and what comes in every month, not a rough guess, the actual number.
Yes. So step one, pull your credit report today, not next month, today. It's free in Canada through Equifax or TransUnion. Now in the US, I think it's free through annualcreditreport.com, but look at your score. Look at what's on your report. If there are errors, and there are often dispute them. I had a client once whose score jumped 40 points just from disputing an error. Like that's 40 points. That's the difference between one interest rate and another. And over a 25-year mortgage, that's thousands of dollars.
Yeah, step two, calculate your debt to credit income right now. Add up all your monthly debt payments, divide by your gross monthly income. If you're over 43%, that's your first target. Which debts can you aggressively pay down? Start with the ones that have the highest minimum payments relative to their balance, usually credit cards.
Step 3, build your down payment savings separately from your emergency fund. Okay. In Canada, your TFSA or your FHSA, which is the first home savings account, they're incredible tools for this. In the US, there might be a first time home buyer program in nearly every state, I think. Your job is to find them and use them. Don't leave free money or tax advantages on the table.
Step 4, stop applying for new credit 12 months before you want to apply for a mortgage. Every hard inquiry on your credit report dings your score temporarily, and opening new accounts change your average account age. Both of those things hurt you. Freeze your credit behavior before you apply.
And step 5, And this is the big one. Get a mortgage pre-assessment from a broker or a financial advisor before you apply. Not a pre-approval, a pre-assessment. The difference is a pre-approval is a bank telling you yes or no based on who you are right now. A pre-assessment is someone telling you what needs to change and in what order to get you to a yes. That conversation changes everything.
You know, the best analogy I have for this, you wouldn't run a marathon without training, right? No, you'd get a program, follow it for months, build up to it. Getting a mortgage is the same thing. It's not a sprint, it's a training plan. And when you show up on race day, application day, you're ready. Okay, I want to pivot for a minute to our Gen X folk, because here's the thing. We talk a lot about the younger generations not being able to get into a home, but there's another problem on the other side of that. People who are in a home have been for decades and are now realizing that the mortgage they took is threatening their retirement.
Yeah, the numbers are real. The average Gen X mortgage balance in 2026 is over 286,000, and only 16% of Gen Xers feel they have enough saved for retirement. The median retirement savings, guys, for our generation is $40,000. Phil, $40,000. We're looking at $80,000 a year in projected retirement expenses, and people have only $40,000 saved.
Yeah, that's very true, and it's very scary. And I want to be honest about that without making people feel hopeless, because here's what I believe. And Irene, correct me if I'm wrong. The solution isn't always to race to pay off the mortgage. Sometimes the smarter move is to redirect some of that extra mortgage payment towards a tax sheltered retirement account instead.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And this is where the conventional wisdom can actually hurt you. Everyone says pay off your mortgage as fast as possible. And then there's wisdom in that, of course. But if you're 52 and you have nothing in your RRSP, or in the United States, your 401k, and you're throwing away every extra dollar at your mortgage, you're potentially making a very expensive mistake, because really, once you retire, that equity is locked in your home. It doesn't pay for food, your groceries.
Yeah. You know, the conversation Gen X needs to have is not just how do I get out of my mortgage debt? It's what does my retirement actually need to look like? And how does my mortgage fit into that picture? Those are two different goals, and they need a plan that addresses both in the right order.
Yeah, and here's what kills me. The reason so many of us are in this position is because nobody ever taught us to think about both at once. We were told, get a good job, buy a house, pay it off. That was the plan. Nobody said, and by the way, your pension is disappearing and you're going to need to fund your own retirement, and you'll have about 15 years to do it. So we're not behind because we didn't try. We're behind because we weren't given the right map.
Yeah, and that's exactly why this conversation matters, so that the generation behind us and our own kids have a different map. All right, let's land this plane. I'm going to give you three things to walk away with today. It's this. One, your mortgage readiness is a score, not a verdict. Every number lenders look at is a number you can improve. Two, start before you think you're ready. Your 12-month plan should start today, not when you decide you're ready to buy. And three, get help. People not from the bank, from someone who's going to tell you how to get a yes, and not just whether you're there yet.
Yes, I love that. And I'd add one more for my Gen X people specifically. Please, please don't sacrifice your retirement for your mortgage. Both matter. Get a plan that covers both. You deserve to retire with dignity, and it's not too late. It is not too late. We hope that this was helpful today. We want to hear from you. Are you working towards your first home? Are you Gen X wrestling with this retirement mortgage tension? Drop it in the comments. We read everything.
And if you need to have this conversation in a real personal way with someone who can actually look at your numbers, reach out to Irene and myself. Send us a message. We will reach out and contact you. That's what we do. This is real scenario here, people.
Yes, we're keeping it real. Thank you for being here. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you next week.